I'm sure that you always heard the debate on whether to use a debit card or a credit card, or you have heard that getting credit cards only puts you in more debt. Usually a lot of people tend to hear the second one more, and I was one of them. I always heard stories about people not being able to pay off their credit card debt, and don't get me wrong, it's scary to hear, and hearing those stories makes you not even bother getting a credit card, which usually leads to people sticking to a personal debit card and not having to deal with these potential issues. But in my opinion, I think it's because a lot of people are not as educated in how to use credit cards responsibly. So in today's video, I'm going to be going over the pros and cons of debit cards and credit cards. And in the end, I'll give my personal opinion on which one I use and why. So let's hop into it. Starting with the pros of a debit card, for many that don't know, a debit card links directly to your checking account. Since it's linked directly, purchases are processed or put on pending to your account instantly. This usually helps you from overspending, but not only that, it keeps you from making a large impulse purchase. They also don't have any annual fees with having a debit card. This is important. If you don't use your credit card frequently, then you don't have to worry about paying to keep your card active. Although your debit card may not have an annual fee, your checking account may have a monthly fee when not meeting the minimum requirements to avoid this fee. You may have to look at your bank's website or contact them directly to see if your checking account has those fees associated with them. Now, the main reason many people like debit cards is because they don't charge interest. Since money is pulled directly out of your account, you don't hold a balance that you pay interest on, which is great for people who aren't aware with their spending habits. As for cons of debit cards, your spending limit depends on how much you have in your checking account. So let's say if you want to make a large purchase and don't have the funds but want to make monthly payments, you won't be able to do this. Usually large expenses always push people to save a fund to make those large purchases so you don't feel a big hit when spending that large amount. But let's say you don't have that large fund saved and want to make a big purchase without having the right amount in your checking account. This will cause an overdraft fee to your account. Many banks have the option to remove this to prevent you from getting overdraft fees, but this will mean that you will get declined on the purchase that are higher than your balance that you have in your checking account. As for how debit cards help credit scores, they simply don't. If your goal is to bring your credit score, this is where debit cards come into play. Now the big question is, how do I get a credit card? It's actually really simple. All you got to do is apply through the online application to see if you get approved. With some banks, they have a pre-approval application that checks to see if you can get one of their cards before they do a hard pull on your credit. This is very useful to use because if you apply for many credit cards and get denied, it lowers your chances every time you get a hard pull on your credit. The banks that are usually good for beginners are Capital One and Discover, which both have a pre-approval application as well. I personally prefer Capital One because you can begin your cashback journey with Capital One Saver and can transition to travel rewards later down the road. So if you're interested in getting this card, please use my referral link in the description box below to help out this channel. But looking at the pros of having a credit card, they can build your credit history. Making payments on time will help you establish a good credit history and improve your credit score over time. Improving your credit score slowly allows you to start getting lower interest rates on a car loan or even a mortgage. This is a big benefit of using a credit card rather than just a debit card. Now, keeping in mind that I said making payments on time. The purpose of having a credit card is to show lenders that you are responsible and trustworthy on making payments on time, which makes getting approved for loans a lot more easier. So if you're making purchases and don't pay the minimum monthly payment, then this will be posted on your credit report, which lowers your score, and it won't get removed until after 7 years. Another plus of having a credit card, depending on the issuer, they offer a cashback or rewards program. This is probably the biggest perks of having a credit card because depending on the card that you can get more cashback rewards on certain categories. Those categories are usually groceries, gas, dining, and many others. Now, if you don't pay off your credit card balances, they offer short-term financing. This can come handy when you want to pay for a large purchase over a period of time. The downside of this is that you will now be paying interest on the purchase when doing this process. And in this channel, we always try to pay off our statement balance every month so that we never get charged that interest. Which now leads me to the cons of credit cards. Since credit cards are not linked directly to our checking account, it may cause a spender to spend more than what they can afford. Now, credit cards do have set limits on how much you can spend on them, but more than half the time, it's more what their budget allows. And because credit cards gives us the option to carry a balance, this makes it super easy to get your spending out of control. Once this happens, this is where you start hearing the stories about people never being able to get out of debt. The debt starts adding up because the interest that gets added to your balance from month to month starts to increase and it makes it more difficult to pay off your principal balance. Now, how do I keep myself from getting those interest rates? Simply by paying your statement balance in full. What if I decide not to make the payment? Doing this will start adding late fees, which adds more to your debt than you're trying to get out of. And not only that, it affects your credit score tremendously. The purpose of getting a credit card is to bring your credit score up. So not being responsible of your purchases can lower your credit score more than what you started with. Even if you can't afford to pay off the statement balance in full, at least do the minimum payment so that your credit score is not affected. I, on the other hand, love credit cards just simply because the fact it's kind of like double dipping your money's worth. For example, if you have a cashback card for groceries at 3% and you spend $200, that gives us $6 back. Now I know what you're thinking, it's only $6, but keep in mind that it's just groceries. If we start adding our daily expenses like water, gas, or even going out to eat that we will use on a regular debit card and just use a credit card, your cashback amount would obviously go up. So now you're looking at possibly $15 to $30 given back to you monthly. If you think that's nothing, then definitely send me the $15 or $30 monthly if it's nothing to you, because it does add up. And again, it's literally free money that the bank is giving you. Obviously, you have to be aware of your spending habits and not to overspend to make sure you're able to pay your statement balance in full. I can't over-explain how important this part is. So please don't put yourself in a position to get into credit card debt. So now that you've seen the main differences between the two, it all comes down to whether or not you want simplicity with just a debit card or start getting into the credit card space. If you know that you are able to be cautious with your spending, then getting a credit card will be a good financial tool for you to start using. But for others who don't want to have the extra worry, then it's completely okay with just having a debit card. And sometimes some people have to get used to having a budget first before getting a credit card. So if you're new to budgeting or don't know where to start, I will attach one of my videos showing a step-by-step to getting you started on the right path. Overall, I hope this video was explained simple enough to steer you in the right direction of either to have a debit card or a credit card. And as always, I'll see you on the next one.